Hi, welcome to another Roboflow demo movie. In this demo movie I will show you that Roboflow can be configured to export metadata from your records. This can be simple record field values or even table field values. I created a workflow and you can specify, for instance, a date. You can say in a query that you want to process in this hot collection workflow all the records which were modified, item modification date, in the last 30 days. Then you can specify somebody to notify via email of the result of this workflow. And then you can specify a header file. And for the first example, we'll look at this one. Which means that I'm exporting the record name, the categories, the asset modification date, and the file format. I added tab separators, which means tabulation, so it will export a tab-delimited text file. And at the end of each line of the header line, I define a character return line feed. This is the header. You could keep this empty if you don't want a header file. Then for the record, for each record, we define that we pick up the record field from the current record, which is always called hot in Roboflow, and we specify the field name, record name, categories, asset modification date, and file format. You can add any file you want, and as you can see, you have full control over the export format. This is again the tab-delimited example. You could have comma-separated values, you could have XML, all kinds of text formats are possible to export. So, and you could define a footer, for instance. I didn't. In this case, I have no footer for this file, but you could have a summary of columns or whatever you want to add. You would have to script it, of course, in the action script. Then in this example, I'm gonna wait and not have a table field processed. So in this example, I'm simply exporting and I'm defining where to export it to and what the export file name is. Normally you would call a tab-delimited text, you would give it the file extension .txt, but I fake it and I put .xls. This gives me the opportunity to open it in Excel. It's not an Excel file, it's a tab-delimited text file, but Excel will open it and will show you nicely the rows and the columns, and you can always save it as a real Excel file afterwards. Roboflow out of the box is not able to create a real Excel file, but there are plugins available on the market that can do that for you. So this is just simple example. I'm going to look for the modified records of the last 30 days. So this could be a workflow that runs every month, for instance, and every month gives you a report of what was modified or what was added, or it's just an example. I say start and I manually start the workflow, but you could schedule this, that this workflow runs, for instance, every first of the month at 1 AM in the morning, giving you a report of the past month. So that is most definitely no problem. So if we have a look, what it has done is here you can see it has found 4 records and it has sent an email to somebody. So it has to me, it has created a report file and it has sent that report file to somebody. So if I go here and I open this file, then you will notice that it has nicely exported the assigned categories, the asset modification date, the file format, and whatever fields you want to configure. So you have full control over whatever it exports. So this is one example. This export is to text, but Roboflow could just as well push this to an SQL database. And so you just need to put in the right action script actions to make that happen. So now let's configure it to export the asset usage history, a table field in Cumulus that contains information about the usage. Here you can see usage records in the table field, so with Roboflow you can export those as well. So I have here an export header file which I configured record name, data usage, user, and asset usage field. And so I can go to here, and I'm not gonna export anything per record, so I'm just assigning an empty file because and there was no footer already before. I'm going to specify here the asset usage history field. And what is also important here in the query, that we're no longer looking at the item modification date, but that we are looking at the date of the asset usage. So I can say asset usage history date today minus 30 days. So anything that was done in that catalog in the past 30 days. So again, this could be something that runs every month, for instance, and gives you a result per month. Here, going back down here. So here too, I add today minus 30 days, the asset users history, and in the table item, I define the fields I want to export here. For each line, I want to export a record name, but I want to export I'm processing the records of that table field, which we call items. So item field, the date, the user, and the asset usage. And so we can export that in here. And just by configuring that, now when I run the workflow, it will find records in which something was done, maybe a download, maybe something else. And then if we take a look at the log, at the end it will say that it sent an email out, and then we can go and have a look in the mail, get mail, and there it is. And so I get another report sent to me, and I can open this. And I can see that now I have record information about when, who did this. Of course, the information here could still be refined and cleaned up. Like if you don't like the user to be shown this way, there are ways to get to the real username in Roboflow, or even get to the email address of this user. But basically this shows how easy it is to export information that is present in Cumulus and export it to text or to anything else. So thank you for joining this little training movie. It gives you an idea of what is potentially possible with Cumulus, and all this is done actually just by adding script actions to the record. The hot collection workflow performs a query, and that query results in records, and those records are processed one by one. And if you define the table field for each record, it will also open the table field, search for whatever you want to search for, and process those line items as well. So thank you for joining, and see you in another demo movie.